Good Friday afternoon, evening.
Hey, hey,
There you are. You're not muted. I thought you were muted for a second. No,
you can shut me up. I mean, you can.
I can. Yeah. Uh, hey everybody, how you doing? Do we know why we're here today?
Excellent.
We are talking about the newest service from AWS today. So we'll get to that in
Oh,
just a minute.
I didn't know they have a news. I mean, I know that they have a new service every week, but I don't know which
Yeah.
service is this week.
Yeah. So that's what we'll talk about in a minute. But just in case you don't know who we are, my name is Darren Pope. This over here is Victor Farsick, and we're the co-host of a podcast called DevOps Paradox. And usually on Fridays, we do this live show just to talk about things of the week and just whatever hits our fancy. Normally we go for an hour. Do we have a full hour today? Because I know you have another live stream later.
We have a full hour. We have a full hour. The other
Okay.
stream is coming a couple of hours from now.
Couple of hours. Okay. I didn't know if it was like too close or not. So,
No. It's all good.
and we'll talk more about that other live stream that you might want to join live if you're still awake. Victor will still be awake because he has to be there. Is that the right way to say it?
And because he wakes up around noon every day.
My day is more than half over by noon. So, but I also go to bed at 8 o'clock at night. So that's another conversation for another day. Jivaden, Foden. Hello from Canada.
Canada.
I could
Hey.
start sending. So I saw that. Never mind. I was going to get into NHL, into hockey, but I'm not going to do that. So because that would just be rude. People were joking. So the Stanley Cup just finished up. I know you're not a sports fan, Victor, but Stanley Cup just finished up. Tampa Bay, whatever their team is, won and beat a Canadian team. But Tampa Bay has like 19 Canadians on the team. So, it's just what it is.
The only sport results I know is football when Spain or Barcelona is playing, and not because I'm watching it, but because if
Everybody
I hear
else.
at least half an hour screaming at night, and actually not half an hour, whole night people screaming, drunk, then we won.
Exactly. And speaking of not drunk, get your can out if you have a can. What do you have today? What is your
have
flavor of the
nothing.
day? You have nothing.
Okay, you said it. It's your fault now.
Go ahead, go. I'll take care of it. While he's gone, I will. Hey, from London. Great. Thanks for joining us. I'm going to mess up your name. I'm going to give it a shot. Oh, Ozhan? Oh, Ozhan? Oh, man. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Usually I'm good at guessing, but that one's like a total blunder. But let's talk about where we're at till now. His empty office shows up. Solving the multi-tenancy problems in Kubernetes.
Yeah,
Now,
baby.
what did you get? What did you get? Let me see your can. Here, I'll go back to
No,
more
it's
full
water.
screen.
It's water.
Oh, you got water. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
all I have is orange water too.
I'm
So
sick.
then you need to hydrate and not alcoholize. Alcoholize? I'm making up words today. Let's just say it's been a rough few weeks. Solving multi-tenancy problems in Kubernetes. And this is sort of a rehash of some of the things that you've talked about, Victor, about Capsule and vCluster and whatever the one from the community is. What was that? It wasn't.
There is hierarchical namespaces, and
Yep.
there is also virtual clusters from Kubernetes SIG,
Right.
which I don't remember whether I mentioned, but
Yeah,
there
I think
it
you
is.
did. Yeah. And this is an interesting problem to solve, but at some point you have to stop virtualizing and start shipping, right?
We have exactly that problem, which we didn't solve with any of those four apps, frameworks, whatever. But it's a cloud offering. We have customers, and we need somehow to serve those customers without sharing everything between them and without creating a different cluster for each.
Yeah, and that makes the most sense just because one of the things you called out on the episode was we used to be able to get free control planes, at least from a couple of places.
Yes.
And that was probably we knew that wouldn't last, right? Let's be real. But it was a it was hopeful, but then it moved off. I actually did see, speaking of Kubernetes clusters, I meant to take a screenshot of it and I forgot, but somebody was comparing EKS versus GKE, and they were like, okay, I want, cluster autoscaler. And the AWS one was, okay, here's your 42 pages of documentation, and the and the GKE one was, here's your checkbox. So
Exactly.
it's sort of off. But anyway, multi-tenancy problems, I think we're still in the early stages of this. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I mean, we're in early stages of even Kubernetes. Kind of, it's been around for a couple of years now. I mean, more than a couple of years. But I think that now we are having real adoption of Kubernetes, and that means that we are in early stages of everything else. Everything sitting on top of core Kubernetes is in early stages.
Yep. And that sort of gets us into our first thing. I want you to remember we're in the early stages. So Infinidash.
You tricked me. It wasn't released this week. It was released a few weeks ago.
It was last week. This is the thing. So do you remember in last week's stream? You probably don't, but there was a part in the last week's stream where I was like, oh yeah, I want to make sure we talk about this. This is that thing that I forgot, that I just couldn't remember. If you don't know what Infinidash is, as the title says here, it's fake. It doesn't exist. One of the developer educators at Twilio just threw out this tweet. It's like, I'm convinced that a small and dedicated group of Twitter devs could tweet hot takes about a completely made up AWS product. I don't know, AWS Infinidash or something, and it would appear as a requirement on job specs within a week. It took less than a week. And
it was everywhere.
It was everywhere. And this is the best one out of all of them. When Werner comes on and dog piles on top of it, that was perfect. It was just to show that you could completely fake. In case you don't know who Werner is, he is now the head of AWS, I think, as of this week, because Andy Jassy moved up to be the head of Amazon. And I think Werner was backfilling, was coming into Andy's place in AWS, I think. So I thought that was pretty funny. I saw lots of other things that I'm not going to talk about because I couldn't find the proof of it. But then it kept on getting better and better. It's like, hey, I'm building an open source alternative to Infinidash, opendash.io, so I don't get locked into AWS. And this person forks it because we don't like your license. It just kept on going more and more, and Signal got into it, which, Signal's a communication app. But then this was the best one of all. Signal's job posting appears to be poking at fun at IBM. Because IBM, which I didn't know about this one, I had not heard about this. IBM famously made a fool out of itself last year, and I'm reading this quote for quote, and the link for this article will be down in the description later, today, tomorrow, whatever. Made a fool of itself last year when it posted a job ad seeking an engineer with at least 12 years of experience working with Kubernetes. Okay, that would have been 2020. They went 12 years, so that would have been 2008. It's only been around since 2014.
But the real question is, I know the story, but I never dig deep. Did they find a person? Did they employ somebody?
I don't know. That
would be cool to find a person that actually applied to the job and got the job.
Right. Anyway, and it just keeps on going and going here. In fact, the crew from Containers on the Couch at AWS even created a video about it. So. In the world as crazy it is right now, it's good to see people can laugh about it. And I especially like that AWS can laugh at it themselves. Instead of having legal and marketing and everybody else dogpile on top of it. It's like, oh no, we've got to stop this. We got to quash it. It's like, this was just fun. It was...
And that channel, I highly recommend that channel. Those are really good streams.
Yeah, they do a good job. Yep. So anyway, let's see. I think that's all I wanted to talk about it. Okay, so that's all I want to talk about there. But now, for real life, AWS, I've already sort of slapped on EKS this week. So managed node groups came in, what, about this time last year?
Is it that long already?
It's been probably, it's getting close to a year, if not a year already.
Okay. Possible, yeah.
Which was great, right? Because they used to, you'd have to self-manage your nodes, which was great. I mean, at least you could. But then once they gave you manage, it's like, okay, that's one less thing I have to deal with. But when you upgraded, it was one by one by one, which
Yeah.
when you first launch, I'm actually okay with that. Because that's the most granular way of doing things. And if you get that right, then being able to build what they announced this week, of being able to do parallel node upgrades, is a little more, should be more stable.
And I would say that one by one is okay for even second time and third time and fourth time if you're talking about small or medium cluster. Kind of like 10, 20 nodes, one by one. It takes hours, so what? Now, when we're talking about 3-digit number of servers, then that's unacceptable.
Yeah. So I think the timing of this is fine. Right? It's sure it'd been great out of the box, but I think this is good. I still think EKS will end up being more GKE-like than not over time. I believe they will truly get there.
At least when Kubernetes, depends actually. If you're talking about Kubernetes, when Kubernetes is concerned, they're all converging to the same thing more or less simply because I don't think that there is even actually much innovation from provider or cloud provider perspective in Kubernetes. They're basically trying to catch up to do what Kubernetes is doing for most part. I mean, exception would be maybe Fargate and Autopilot. So they're just getting to the maturity point, and that point is the same for everybody.
Yeah. So, I mean, this wasn't earth-shattering, but if you're running on EKS, this is a big one. And I want to go and bring up this comment here. They've come a long way since 2018. There were no managed node groups in the beginning, yes. We had to stitch together upgrades with CloudFormation, yes. This was before even EKS Cuddle existed.
I mean, it took me probably a year since EKS appeared to actually choose to use it instead of what was the tool before that we used all to create clusters in AWS?
COPS,
exactly. COPS, yeah, that one. It took a year until actually EKS was even remotely similar to what COPS was doing. Now it doesn't make any sense to use COPS, but yeah, I agree with the statement that you showed.
Yeah, I think over time, I think they will be more standardized. They will have, I think all three of them, and I'm speaking only for, we have to be careful now because I've been seeing Oracle Cloud popping up more. And of course we know about, help me. What's the one in APAC?
APAC?
Golly, who is it? Who's the big Asian?
Alibaba.
Yes, Alibaba. I'm seeing Alibaba and Oracle popping up more. So when I say big three, I mean AWS, Google, and Azure. I think the next big real problem that all three of them are going to solve in their own specific ways is multi-region live running. Google is already sort of doing it, but they're doing it with Cloud Run, not with Kubernetes.
I mean, they have Anthos, which I don't understand even the state of Anthos. I'm not sure what's going on with Anthos. So for now I'm ignoring it.
Yeah, I am as well. I don't know if that means that they're getting ready to, I don't know. I don't want to say the word decommission, but it just doesn't seem to be getting a lot of coverage right now.
No.
So Anyway. But anyway, EKS, manage node groups, parallel node upgrades. Sweet.
Nice.
Okay. Some weird tools. Now, this is a tool I'd never heard of before. Goldilocks. Have you ever heard of Goldilocks before?
Not of Goldilocks. I heard about the fable, no? The story, I know.
We're not talking about Goldilocks
That's
and the
not the
Three
one.
Bears.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Okay. So Goldilocks, as I found out when I was researching this, it's a utility that can help you. In fact, here, let me do this. There we go. Probably one more. There we go. Utility can help you identify a starting point for resource requests and limits. Right? Sometimes you just don't even know. So what this does is it gives you the ability to, or not the ability, but it gives you recommendations to see what kind of sizing you should start with. So Goldilocks, the reason why I brought Goldilocks recommendation scraper in wasn't so much for scraper, even though it's interesting, but it gives you the ability to get the data and get it into your deployment. So instead of having to come here, get the data, and then go over to your deployment or to your YAML, make the changes, in theory, this scrapes it and makes the changes for you.
At runtime.
Well, at something.
Yeah.
That's the part I'm not too sure about.
I mean, if it's at runtime, that's why we have vertical pod autoscaler.
Right, which is what they get into here.
Okay.
So by using vertical pod autoscaler in recommendation mode, you can get suggestions. So
Okay. Okay. So yeah, actually, that does make sense. It actually creates VPA.
correct.
Yeah.
So
Potentially nice.
yeah. So the reason why it wasn't so much this because the scraper wasn't that interesting, but it led me to Goldilocks, which I had not heard of before. So, and this does extra stuff for it. So it's, again, new to me. So I figured I'd bring it to everybody else here because it may be new to you as well. I don't know how to say this. I sent this off.
Yamin?
Yaman. I'm going to say Yaman. If to the developers, I ask for forgiveness. It's a simple CLI tool for combining JSON and YAML files. And you might be
I'm
thinking,
curious.
yeah. So the example here is combine all YAML and JSON files in the current folder and creates a combined YAML file. Okay, well, YAML and JSON doesn't really make any sense to me, but so basically,
Show me the example.
Here's the example. So think of this as, let's say you had multiple YAML files. This was one YAML file. This was another YAML file. This was another YAML file.
Uh-huh.
You could point it at a directory that had all these separate files and run it, and it would create this final file for you.
That makes so much more sense than what I thought. I thought that they would combine JSON and YAML in a single file.
No, I don't. I mean, I think it may do that, but based on how they're saying, it just sort of reads strangely here. All YAML and JSON,
Yeah.
it just doesn't make sense to me. I think they meant to say combine all YAML into
Or
combine YAML.
JSON files.
Yeah, that's what I think. I haven't actually installed this to try it out yet, but it'll do the same thing with JSON as well. And I sent this off to one of the guys that I work with, and he was going to poke at it a little bit because he does a lot of YAML work. He says, this looks interesting. It's like, I'm not sure that I'd really use it, but he says, I sort of get what it's doing. I don't know. To have a nice, clean way of merging things is always nice.
Yeah.
And this is also in Go, if I remember right. Is it in Go? RS. What the heck is RS?
Uh-huh.
I don't even know what this is.
But it's basically, it's fancy way to say to iterate over files
Oh, Rust.
and concatenate them with dash in between.
Yeah.
Why not?
And it's a little Rust app, so that's fine. I didn't know what RS was.
So RS is Rust. Now
It's
we
Rust. Yeah. We learned something else new today. Who was the guy that we had on the podcast recently? He's been doing a Rust deep dive. I'm looking up his name real quick. His name is, if you're not following him on his blog, he does a weekly blog called A Java Geek. Let me see. I'll have to pull him up over at Nicola Frankel.
Nicola. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Nicholas. Yeah.
Yep. So, anyway, Rust. I'm sort of like in squirrel mode today. I'm chasing all sorts of ideas. I've been working a little behind the scenes of how the sausage is made. I've been preparing a video for next week that's combining Jenkins and HashiCorp Vault. And I'm trying to run Vault as a real Vault and not just in memory. Let's just say it's been a little while since I've done that level of operational setup. It's not hard. What?
I haven't done it in a while, but I remember it not being trivial.
It's not hard, but it's not trivial either. To do it correctly as I can for what I want to do. So that's my head is still sort of there. Okay, let's come back to this show though. Another scheduler. Oh dear.
Okay, this is now.
This is one I see you doing a video on. It's a controller that automatically starts, stops, or restarts pods from a deployment at a specified time using cron. And I was thinking to myself, isn't this already built in somewhere? And I dug around. It's like, nope, it's not.
So start, stops, or restarts
pods
from
a deployment. So here's the use cases. Deployments with a GPU, stop them after working hours. So GPU cost a lot of money.
Yeah,
we're thinking cloud right now. So this doesn't make sense if you're on-prem and you have static spend anyway, unless you need to. Now this is also the case. Even if you've got your own static clusters, it may still be worth using something like this because that would free up capacity in the cluster for the weekend type jobs. Do you remember the weekend jobs? The big batch jobs on the weekend?
Yeah. It's so funny because like 3 or 4 hours ago, a few hours ago, I received exactly that question in one of the comments on the YouTube channel. How do I do that? How do I stop using things at a certain time and then start using them again later? I suggest you just create a job that does that, cron job in Kubernetes. But this is the more elegant solution than what I suggested.
Yep. So in this, so it's like stop pods at 6 p.m. every day, start pods at 1 p.m. every day, start 3 pods, restart pods. This is the one that I find interesting, restarting pods. Because to me, this smells of, I've got a memory leak and I need to restart things every day. This is like, I have to restart the server every day.
But, description is very misleading. Because I honestly hope that nobody is stopping pods.
It makes no sense.
Because if you stop pods, and pods are created by deployment, stopped pod will be started immediately after it's stopped. That's what deployments do, or stateful sets and what's not. So,
right.
If the description is accurate, and then it says stop the deployments that are not needed. I don't know. I hope. I assume that they mean scale down deployments to 0 or something like that.
Yeah. Well, in this case, here's stop deployments that are not needed on the weekend.
And you cannot stop a deployment. But okay.
Right.
Okay.
Save some money, and it's a perfect combination with Cluster Autoscaler, which I agree with, because if you're stopping things, Cluster Autoscaler should bring everything else down.
Absolutely.
So here is it looks like it's just set up as an annotation.
Yeah. Nice.
And this is the deployment.
Yeah. And it's, you can see replica 0.
And this could be also, just looking at this one, and I'm not doing the math in my head fast enough, but if you know that you only need, if you have Cluster Autoscaler, and you know you need 20 pods throughout the day, But on your overnights, you're looking at your distribution curve of usage. Then go ahead and you could spin it down to just 2 pods at night, or whatever your nighttime stuff is. That way, you're freeing up capacity in the cluster for other people to use it, if it's not cluster autoscaled.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. If you cannot deduce those things from metrics, then yes. Right? If you cannot track traffic, let's say, and just say go down because there's less or more or whatever, yes.
I mean, hopefully this would all be metric driven and not statically driven.
Yeah, I guess that this is precise. But the reality is that for many use cases, you cannot drive it by metrics. It's usually some legacy system. Hey, there are no metrics and all those things. We cannot make decisions like that. But we know that before it was in Kubernetes, we had this script that was doing just that.
Yep.
Here's another one. Huge potential use case for this. Memory leaks. How many times did you without naming names, were you in presence of a customer who was restarting something every once a day, once a night, because if that something runs for too long, it starts leaking all over?
Well, I could say that about code I've just written, not recently, but code I wrote. I'm not putting anybody else under the bus. It's like, especially when you're getting a first version of something out and you didn't do good things. Yeah, I mean, I think there's use cases for this. I don't know that I agree with the way that it's fully written out, but still, this might be something for you to go play with. I don't know.
Yeah, I will try it out.
Okay. What was it? Oh, Checkmarks open source something this week. We've been talking about
You sounded
policies.
very confident, as if you know Checkmarks.
Oh, Checkmarks. Checkmarks is a security scanning company.
Okay,
Static analysis.
I didn't know that.
Static analysis. Yep. Checkmarks has a product called Checkmarks. But they open sourced KICS this week. And I'm going to open up the site, but it's going to get ugly really fast if I remember right. So find security vulnerabilities, compliance issues, and infrastructure misconfigs early in development cycle of your infrastructure as code with KICS. Supported platforms are Terraform, Kubernetes, Docker, OpenAPI, Ansible, CloudFormation, and Helm. So let's just sort of take Terraform and Ansible, I guess, as the 2 easiest ones to go after just from an infrastructure perspective. So finding security vulnerabilities and compliance issues within infrastructure. Now, the misconfigs, okay, that's good. But with everything that's been going on recently, and if you're watching this later, it is July 9th, 2021, with all of the hacks by nation states, by whatevers. Having this checked out, just like how we should be scanning our code, like real code, we should be scanning our infrastructure code as well. Yes or no?
No, a huge yes, definitely yes. It's more that I have a feeling that there is an explosion of the products that, at least based on the description, and I'm repeating description because it's impossible to try them all, are all doing the same.
Yes.
Kind of security space is just exploding with projects, which is not a bad thing. I mean, for users, for us, it's great. A lot of competition. How many will survive? It's a different question.
Right. So if you were to go through there, and this is the reason why I brought up the GitHub side first instead of this. This is a very cool, now I've zoomed in, so it looks sort of even worse. But it's a very marketing site. So I just decided to get over to the code and understand it better. But I could see this sort of mixing in with what you're doing in your day job now. Sort of, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't support that yet, but would be
Yeah,
interesting to
yeah.
see how it. Well, I guess technically it could with Kubernetes, but they're going to be at some meetups showing it, so should be interesting.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen anybody
we
else
are
do
getting-
this yet. Like Sneak doesn't do this.
Doesn't?
Not infrastructure. I
Oh,
don't
it
think
does.
they
I
do.
mean, Terraform for sure. No, Terraform 100%.
Yeah.
Kubernetes, last time I used it was in beta. I'm not sure about Ansible and the rest, but Terraform, yeah, definitely. And I used and even spoke with a couple of other companies that do that with Terraform without now entering who does it better, worse, and all those things. But as a generalist, we go through your Terraform stuff and then tell you what's wrong with it, whether that's this or that. There are a bunch of them.
Yeah. Okay.
It's good
And I'm wrong.
for users. It's good. Competition is good for users always.
I want to look at the roadmap because I did not look at this. I'm curious to see what the roadmaps are. So Open API 3 and 2, gRPC, Azure, and Google Deployment Manager. So,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, what I potentially like, and this might not be true for what's the company? Checkmarks,
Checkmarks.
whatever.
Yeah.
Is that those companies in security were traditionally in, I speak with two people in a company, CTO, sign me a big check and all that stuff, and that is now shifting left. And it's kind of forcing companies to release an open source. Probably things, I wouldn't be surprised that this was internal tooling, part of enterprise offering or something like that, right? So we as users are really benefiting a lot by that competition because more and more of those tools are becoming, first, developer friendly, and second, free.
Right. So I think it's going to get interesting. But let's get to your videos for the week. Bitnami. Okay, number one. I had completely missed that Bitnami was picked up by VMware. Like, I completely had missed that.
VMware is on a shopping spree for a while now for everything Kubernetes related. Right? They bought Bitnami, they bought Heptio, and so on and so forth. A lot of companies. And I like Bitnami images. And by association Bitnami charts. I use quite a few of them. Kind of whenever I get disappointed about somebody's official image, I go to Bitnami and never come back.
Why is that? Why? I mean, you said you get frustrated, but I don't understand why you would do that. Especially
for
if
example,
it was the official.
The last one was Nginx, right? And I started Snyk. Actually, I started using Snyk for one of the projects. It was a while ago, right? And then I started getting vulnerabilities, this and that, and I was on a mission. I'm going to make this image free from all those things, and I couldn't. And Nginx was always behind and stuff like that. And then I went to Bitnami, smaller image, no vulnerabilities, and every once in a while I still get from Snyk notification, kind of like, hey, you should upgrade this. Something new was discovered, what's not, and then Bitnami's Nginx quickly releases a new one.
Okay. But that's not what we were talking about in this. We were talking about Kubeapps.
Yeah. I still didn't find the answer to the question in that banner.
Yeah, I don't know who would need it.
It's a Helm chart. It's a chart museum with nicer interface, right? I mean, kind of. I don't know. I guess somebody who is really inexperienced with Kubernetes, maybe, or maybe for ops people who use completely different tools, but then they give dev people Bitnami, so Kubeapps to deploy their applications based on charts that they themselves curated. I'm guessing now, really.
Well, that's
But
possible, but
in real world, I haven't seen, hey, here's a chart, click it, run it. I haven't
Right.
seen that.
yeah. But and that's actually a very interesting lead-in to talking about composites, which is that concept.
Yeah, but now I need TLDR. I work since 2 weeks
You do.
ago. I work for those guys, so I'm biased here, right?
Yeah.
But the whole
But-
idea is,
But hang on a second. So you may be biased, and that's okay. It's okay to be biased. But I saw somebody else post this, a person that we worked with before, that's currently at AWS, posted about this as well.
yeah, not this video. I mean, Crossplane.
About
composites.
composites. Yeah.
Yeah, composites are probably the main thing that we have now with Crossplane. And the whole idea, I think that the idea is awesome, right? The whole idea is instead of you looking for, so if you want to simplify lives of developers, you need to opinionate something. And instead of you getting a product that does opinionated workflow or process or whatever, you define what the opinions are. So it's kind of, instead of, third-party vendor, end user, vendor creates opinionated simple something, you use it. With composites, you have that three doctor in the middle, right? Kind of, hey, you're a Kubernetes ninja, or you're an infrastructure master. In your company, you create those opinions. So composites, at least from my perspective, my explanation of it is the ability for infrastructure people, services people, Kubernetes ninjas, people on the right to create opinionated definitions that enable developers to self-serve themselves.
That's what I got from this watching it last night is there's still work to be done on both sides. But you're not shifting. Yeah, there's a lot, especially in your example with EKS. But you're not shifting everything left, and that's the key part there.
No, your key is that you can shift left only to the level that something that you shifted is usable, right? So in that simple example in video, I can shift left the question how many nodes you want. I cannot shift left the question or the task define subnets. Show me a developer who cares about subnets. Nobody. I mean, nobody. Almost nobody, right? So you need to shift left the things that matter to the people on the left. That's the key. Otherwise, if you shift more than what matters or is understandable to the people on the left, then you are risking the danger of, I don't know what this is, kind of, I'm not going to touch it.
And I think in your example, you were shifting left 3 items. It was version, node count, and I don't remember what the third one was.
Machine size.
Size, small, medium, large,
Yes,
which was actually
exactly.
because of the abstraction. So to me, now you didn't go into it in the video, or if you did, I missed it.
No, I didn't. Into details, no.
Right. So I'm wondering, could I could have used that same YAML file, that same composite YAML file for any of the 3 providers, correct? I just had to give it a different tag.
Yeah, so there is in that end result in the composite that you define as a user, you just specify for provider, and I called it cluster AWS, cluster Azure, cluster GK. So you change the name, and that's it. But the parameters are the same. And then depending on whether you chose Azure, then small will be translated to whatever. Azure is for small, and then in AWS. So it's kind of like defining. So there are kind of different layers, right? there is end user manifest, which is that simple one, right, with 3 parameters. Then there is a definition that defines that interface. That defines, okay, so those will be the parameters, those will be this and that, and there are implementations of that interface. And in that example, there are 3 implementations, basically, right, of the same interface.
Right. And that's extremely powerful. Extremely powerful. This gets us back to the thing we've been harping on for well over a year of making the Kubernetes API the one API to rule them all. And this Composites is an implementation detail of that.
It's almost as if you, as a ops person in your company, you have the tools to create Heroku for others, right? So you don't send people, devs in your company or people on the left side of you to Heroku. You say, I'm going to make Heroku for you.
Right. And it may be actually Heroku under the hood.
It could be Heroku, it could be Kubernetes, it could be that people on the left care whether it's Heroku or Kubernetes, or it could be that you don't care, right? It really depends on, there is that pending conversation in almost every company to establish the boundaries. Okay, you want freedom, define what freedom means for you, right?
That is correct. I was actually trying to look up one thing while we were talking. I heard that Knative is getting ready to release 1.0.
Okay. That would be exciting.
But not yet. I don't remember where I saw it, but it was somewhere. But I don't remember where I saw it, or it was probably in Twitter. But anyway, sorry to break us away from this. Here's the other thing that you were saying is vendors providing opinionations. I think that's okay, because for some companies, they don't even know where to start. So an opinionation always helps.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, everybody is opinionated. Let's make that clear. If you use AWS, you're using opinionated something, right? AWS is very opinionated. Absolutely, everybody is opinionated. The question is only whether you need to build opinions within your company, or you can use ready-to-go opinions. Like, for example, and I'm using AWS only because I mentioned it. Now, if you want to enable everybody to be self-serving themselves, and everybody understands AWS, then hey, you don't need any additional level of opinionation, right? If you say, no, I understand AWS, but others don't, then you need to look for either third-party vendor that will give you that layer between those people in AWS, and you need to assume that layer is doing what you want it to do, or you need to build your own. And there is no kind of like, this is better or that is better, right? I'm not now. It's just that it all really boils down to whether other vendors' opinions are what you need, or you need to create your own.
I think it's important.
And I would argue that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And that's probably also somehow related with the size. I cannot. I'm now generalizing. You cannot generalize things, but I think that the bigger the company is, the less likely it is that it will use something off the shelf.
Correct.
Right? Like if you're a small company, and you go back to KICS example, if you're a small company, it is much more likely that you will go to, let's say, I'm simplifying it, ignoring GitOps and everything is code. You go to KICS console, web UI, and you just create a cluster by selecting 3 fields, use everything else by default and clicking create, right? Now you're basically adopting 99% of AWS opinions, and that's brilliant, right? Now you go to medium, large companies, heck no. You're not going to be able to do that, right? Because you have special requirements, whatever those requirements are. And no matter how much justified or silly they are.
Thus called governance.
Exactly.
And if it wasn't for governance, you and I probably wouldn't have jobs. Well, we would have jobs, but governance is...
We would need to change what we do.
Yes, we would. So you've got another live stream coming up in a couple of hours.
Hour and 45 minutes from now.
Okay, an hour and 45. So that would be at 3:30 Eastern, 9:30 CET.
I can confirm the latter, yes.
Okay. So, and it'll be over on the Upbound YouTube channel, I would assume.
No.
No.
Crossplane YouTube channel.
Crossplane YouTube channel today. Okay.
Kind of like we have that division, church
Yeah.
and state.
Got it. So you're on the Crossplane YouTube channel today, and you're discussing...
how to bring Terraform into Crossplane. Basically, there are gaps, right? It's impossible for Crossplane from the quantity perspective to have as big coverage as Terraform, right? We're trying to close the gap, but cannot be done in a day. So it might be interesting for people to bring their own, for parts of their definitions, bring their Terraform into Crossplane, and that way remove the gap. Or even better, I think that's this project is actually also solving one of the problems that many other projects have. Is it also enables transition, right? If you're a Terraform user and you want to switch to Crossplane, and I'm not selling you today anything, but in case you do want to wish to switch to Crossplane, you're not going to rewrite everything overnight. So you might want to bring Terraform and then start rewriting at your own leisure.
And I think, thinking back towards what Pulumi did in the V1 days.
Exactly.
It was that same type stepping stone. Now they've gone to 2.0 or whatever their numbering is right now, then they don't follow that model anymore. But it's if you're already using Terraform, being able to lift that and carry it with you, that's really powerful.
Yeah, exactly.
So that'll be at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 9:30 p.m. CET, an hour and 45 minutes from now. So
something like that.
Something like that. And if you didn't catch it, it'll be on the Crossplane YouTube channel. I don't have the link for that. Otherwise, I put it in the chat.
Just go to YouTube, Google Crossplane, you'll find it.
Crossplane. Yep. So you had your 2 videos this week. Have you already planned your videos for next week? Or are you on vacation next week?
No, I'm not on vacations. I just got a new job. I don't have vacation days, man. Yeah, I have actually 2 videos planned.
Okay.
One will be about Civo. You don't know what is Civo?
Oh, CIVO?
CIVO, yes.
I don't, but I'll pull it up.
It's a cloud provider, but Kubernetes only. That's what makes it kind of special, for good or bad, right?
Kubernetes
Exactly.
only.
So yeah, that's the first cloud provider that I know of, not necessarily really first, says, hey, we're cloud provider only for Kubernetes.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is really interesting. And there are some cool things about it. So you'll have to wait for Monday. Or
Okay.
read the docs, choose.
Where are they based? Let's see.
I know that they have data centers in UK and US and by sea. Now,
Okay.
whether they're based, I have no idea. And the person that
I think I just saw it.
will
Right there.
there, we are supposed to that girl, we are supposed to record.
I know.
Podcast.
And if you're watching, how do you say her name?
Anais.
I am so sorry. I saw the email. I haven't gotten there yet. I'm getting to it tonight or in the morning. I apologize. It's for everybody that haven't been around. My life's been turned upside down for the past couple of months. So I'm for the simple things, even like returning an email, has not been working out so well. So anyway, so this is one video. What's your other video?
So the other video is, it's one of those videos that I worked for like half a year on a single video. And as I'm progressing towards a specific goal, I publish interim videos. So if you watch the channel, you have a lot of clues around. So it will be about combining quite a few things to get to the complete complete shift left process or framework or platform or something like that. So it will be a combination.
So the story will be complete. This is Infinity War Endgame or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. This is Endgame. Okay.
It's similar. Like maybe half a year ago, I published that automation of everything, which was similar pattern that I wanted to do that, and then I spent months going through, okay, so I need GitOps, Flux, Argo CD, this or that, I need this, I need that, eventing, what's or not. And once I had the story and evaluated quite a few different tools to get to that story, I published that automation of everything. This will be the same, conceptually the same.
Okay.
Not the same objective. No.
Well, right. Same basic concept. Yeah. And the podcast for next week, I haven't started editing yet. And do I even? Oh, it's based around no touch production.
Okay.
No touch production. And it was based off of a podcast I heard from Google Cloud Security. I think that was it, or it was one of the other Google podcasts that I listened to on my walk one morning. And it was it made me think, how can we have production environments that no one touches? So we attempt to talk about that in a somewhat logical manner.
When you think about it, when you reach certain scale, is there even an option to touch production?
You would hope not.
I mean, is it even possible? So let's say that if you have 4 digits number of servers as a minimum, so we're talking about thousands of servers. Can you really manage that by touching it?
You would think so, but you shouldn't.
I mean, you can have 1,000 people working on touching it, 1,000 servers. You can do that.
You can. You don't want to. So anyway, that'll be out on Wednesday at 6 a.m. Eastern, noon CET. Trying to think, was there
What
anything
about
else?
your live streams? You always have at least one under your sleeve scheduled.
I don't have any live stream scheduled for next week. I've got 2 videos coming out next week. I know one I've already talked about is Jenkins with Vault. And the second one, I haven't come up with the final idea yet. I've got like 3 that I'm trying to figure out which way I want to go. But that's what I'm doing. And we're finally getting everything out of my mom's house. That's what I'm doing this weekend. So that's the other place where my brain is. So that means I'm working in a U-Haul, and the humidity here is crazy because that tropical storm just went over yesterday, and it hasn't dried out yet. So it's...
When the colleagues told me that in Seattle it was warmer than in Nevada.
Yeah. The Northwest
insane
is...
numbers, which I cannot translate to Fahrenheit because I never learned how to
it's over...
calculate.
Well, it's a couple of weeks ago it was over 100. I don't even remember what it is right now. So, yeah, I'm thankful where I'm at temperature-wise, but the humidity's summertime humidity for where I'm at. So, okay. If you are still here with us live, go ahead and give us a thumbs up before you split. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. I'm trying to think, is there anything else that we need to let everybody know about? We should be back next Friday. We're both still not on vacation. If you take vacation, like when you go away, we need to probably take one Friday off, just because. So everybody that's watching now, just be thinking about, okay, if I don't want to watch them live and I don't really care because I'm going to be gone, tell us in the comments. So go into the comments, not the chat right now, but over in the comments of this episode, say which Friday you want off in, because you're gone in August, right? You're leaving in August-ish?
Yeah,
Not leaving, but
I'm not sure what will be my vacation schedule and stuff like that, but in Spain, at least August, nobody's working.
right. So if there's an August Friday that nobody wants, like you just don't want to even hear from us, put that down in the comments afterwards. Not in the chat, but down in the comments. And we'll take that under advisement. It doesn't mean that we won't skip the Friday, but if we know nobody's going to be around, that might be enough for us to say, maybe we'll take Friday off. I'm okay with taking a Friday off every once in a while. What I don't like doing is missing a podcast. That's the part. When we missed that one in May, it was tough, but I had other reasons going on. So, okay, so I think that's it for today. We'll be back again next week. And throughout the week, if you haven't joined up in the Slack workspace, that's the one thing I forgot to say. That's crawling right down there below us. It's coming up right underneath Victor right now. It's devopsparadox.com/Slack. Free Slack workspace. Go join up. 2 channels to join. Hub and podcast. And there's others there too, but those are the 2 main ones to join up. And you'll see all the other stuff that we're talking about during the week. I think that's it. Right?
I think that's it, yeah.
Okay. For everybody that joined us live, thanks for hanging out with us live. For everybody that watched the replay, thanks for watching the replay, especially to the very end.
Ta-ta.
Oh, we're still here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're still live.
We're still live?
Yeah, we're still live. This is the after show, which means we don't know what's going on, and it's Friday. Okay, now we're really leaving. See you, bye.